And first of all, I don't say that God doesn't exist. Maybe your perception of God doesn't exist. It's possible I might believe that, but I accept the God. I accept God in my life. God to me, it's right. I'll explain this easy. Again, everything I say today on this needs a much more in-depth explanation for a lot of people.
Let's talk about facts.
If you want to have intellectual discussions.
Spiritually oriented, very beautiful far who you are beyond the personality.
I'm a human being, same as you.
Be who you are.
But to answer your question,
what is really going on?
And let's get into this.
And what is up, Team Wirgo? What is? Welcome to the wonderful world of Wirgo, the place where we get to ask what is really going on. And in this episode, we're not doing anything that we would normally do. And there's lots of things coming up. Now, what I want to get into before that, actually, if you want to hit that share, subscribe, and all that stuff, you'll help us out dearly. Now, guys, don't panic. I don't do this for money or anything. This is a learning experience for me, and it's about the best way so far I've found to learn. Now, we got lots of things coming up, such as most stuff is going to be speaking on the streets to other people, asking them certain questions and seeing how they react to certain things, and me being able to speak to them and try and learn, and then you guys helping me how I can do it better in the future. Now, another way of me learning is in the comments. Now, I didn't think I'd get any at all up to this point, but there has been a few, which I'll mention, really positive ones so far. But the first one that's come across, it's not as positive, but more neutral. I wouldn't say it was negative, because it's just someone expressing an opinion, which I don't mind. I mean, I see the world in such a different way to other people. I don't really get upset with people. I'm okay for challenging. I'm a warrior. And if you're a warrior, you know you have to challenge things. And the lovely, I want to say lady, I don't fully understand if that's how she identifies herself or she at all, but this is how I would identify her on a preliminary basis, as in, I've just got to speaking with a lady. Again, if she identifies as a lady, I'm sure she'll let me know. Her name, as far as I can see, is Sean. And the reason why I say she is because I've listened she does a few videos on her monkey, which you should see in this. So I hope you like that and reach out to Sean and say, I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. It's Sean to me. It might be something different. They can correct me. Now, it started, and I'm only going to read the message it started with. Everything else, I'm just going to, ballpark of what we talked about ish. And that was it was to do with, I think it was the comment on a Tom McDonald video, I think it was, Brainwashed. And it's where I mentioned about, I think it's where I mentioned about people being mentally ill. Where I've said childlike, it's the part of the mental illness that I'm referring to. Is only one thing I'm saying really you are. Whether I've mentioned that or not, I'm not sure. And I'm going to explain myself a little bit better for her. But the message came across along lines of, so people are mentally ill or childish because they don't agree with your ideology. No, I don't, no, that's not what I'm saying. But I can understand how you got there from the comments. I can completely understand how what I said may lead you to think that. That's a bit narcissistic, don't you think? I do. If that was my intent, if that's what I was doing, that would definitely be narcissistic to me. So I completely wanted to agree, 100% agree with Sean if that was the case. It isn't the case, though, which I'll explain here. Simple fact of the matter is that you, along with everyone else, well, this is strange. This is a strange thing. I'm only pointing it out. I've been speaking to Sean, and she seems like a very lovely person, and hopefully we get it on. I hope we are. It's hard to tell with the autism, but it's a simple fact of the matter is that you, along with everybody else, will have a judgment day before God to determine your eternity, which I thought was the exact same as what she thought I was doing, which was saying that I was one way or another because of an ideology. I do have a family in the background who are shouting at the bless them. I'm going to keep going though. This is just a little chat. Now, I'll do this more often as well. When I get comments, I will talk about them. I will always try and resolve things. There's not much I can do with trolls, and we know the different. I know when I'm being trolled. I'm very good at trolling myself if I want to troll. It's how I started learning, which is goes into a part of this, which where sinning. The way I see sinning can lead you to understand certain things. I think all children are born sinners, and sin to me is it's a lot complicated than what I'm about to say. but it's generally taking control of someone else through narcissistic means. And children have to do that because we learn a language that is coded. English, German, French, whatever your language may be, Spanish, whatever. And that's coded language. It's unnatural. So children don't learn that. So we see them as a form of narcissism, they cry, they whinge, they moan. It's all to do with our emotions, and it sets off different things in us, which is in a sense sinning. Not what sin truly and honestly is. It's just a way of me expressing myself at the moment. So hopefully you don't take that too much of that sin. No, it needs a much better explanation than that from the way I see it. But the coded language I use, English, hasn't given me a great opportunity to be able to explain that just yet. I'm working on it. I am working on it to be able to explain that in a lot better term. As you said about Judgment Day, before God determined your eternity. Now, again, that would seem like your ideology, and that, and you've said a simple fact is, which I don't think that's a simple fact. It certainly wouldn't be a simple fact to me, which in a sense would be narcissistic, but I'm not taking this. I mean, of course, we're just talking. And clearly the lady may be getting emotional because she felt that what I was saying was something else. And I said, if I had been saying that, she would have been absolutely correct in her judgment of us. I get that you don't believe in it. However, that's your opinion. I don't express my opinions unless I say, this is my opinion. If I haven't said, this is my opinion, then it's a theory. There's a difference between opinion and theory. You may not know that or may not believe that, but a theory is when I go on based on the language of God, which is mathematics. I say mathematics to you, I don't mean 1 + 1 is 1. I don't mean that. I use mathematics, it's the easiest way to get people to understand what I'm actually talking about. There's lots of words you can use alongside epistemology and theology, loads of different things. But basically, I say mathematics in the form of, I'll give you a little bit of a definition of what I'm talking about, just to try and get everybody to understand. For example, if I go up to a lady and smack her on the bum, which I would never do, smack her on the bum, I can expect a slap in the face. That's mathematics. Lady, me, slap, don't know her, slap in the face. Even if I knew her, possibly get a slap in the face. It was just a little way of explaining myself with her. I said, not the fact that God doesn't exist. I wouldn't. First of all, I don't say that God doesn't exist. Maybe your perception of God doesn't exist. It's possible I might believe that, but I accept the God. I accept God in my life. God to me, it's right. I'll explain this easy. Again, everything I say today on this needs a much more in-depth explanation for a lot of people. I finish up with she says, I pray for you. Which, by the way, a lot of people can see that statement, and she has explained that's not how she meant it, which was brilliant for me. I accepted that, and that's good. But a lot of these things can be seen as condescending, but I did point that out in a message that they could be seen as condescending, but not necessarily how I would take them. And she did explain that's not how she wanted me to take it, and I accepted her explanation quite well. The conversation does go on. And it goes on about her monkeys and how and certain different things. And I think there were apologies in there, which was no need. This is a learning experience. You don't need to apologize. I'm learning. I will get things incorrect, and I don't want to apologize every time I get something incorrect. It'd be silly. I wouldn't learn anything. I wouldn't expect a child to apologize. And yes, you can see me as a child learning if that's how you choose to see it. For me, no matter what your religion, no matter what your holy book is, no matter what anything is, you cannot see it without your perception. Your perception is the key to everything. And to say that your perception is infallible or can't be incorrect or anything like that, to me, now that's a sin. You should always accept that you are a child of God, not necessarily God himself. Him, H-Y-M-N, the great him. God doesn't have one gender. God is both genders. Is both masculine and feminine. Masculine and femininity is expressed throughout the entire universe as far as I can see. I see it everywhere. I'm not talking about male and female humans, by the way. I'm not talking about that. Each one of us has masculine and feminine qualities to us, and therefore that's why we are made in the image of God. God is both, not male and female, like it does say in some Bibles, not all. It's masculine and feminine. They are the powers, the spiritual energies and powers within us all. And that's what I look at a lot of things, them kind of things. I don't do what most of the world does, and I see this a lot. I call them Satanists, but not in a hellish, evil way. I don't believe in that stuff. I don't accept that stuff. My Lord has said that the knowledge of good and evil will kill me, not kill me, but it will damage my critical thinking mind, the masculine mind. The masculine mind will die, and it does. I see it in everybody. Everywhere I look, I see that the masculine mind is dead. They believe that masculinity is... That's femininity, believe it or not. You can look at loads of different things within nature to see this, but you'll also notice that there are certain things in hypothalamus. No. Don't quote me because I have dyslexia, so I'm mixing words up here. But there's a part of the brain here that within it, there are two receptors. I think I'm getting my words correctly here. One is tied to masculinity or testosterone, which is the masculine. We all have testosterone and estrogen, by the way. They are the hormones greatly linked with masculinity and femininity. The feminine estrogen is attached to the aggressive side of things. That's just the way it is. Females are not. It's in all of us, and the masculine is attached to like the lovemaking and things. It's like everything else. It's the dual halves of God. There's a trinity there because God cannot be mistaken. The awareness of all cannot be, excluded from any of this. You must understand that the two halves of God, but there's still a whole God. Therefore, the Trinity is there, and that's why we look at it as a Trinity. That would, to me, would be the Holy Trinity. And that Holy Trinity is repeated over and over and over inside itself, all the way down to us and then down to everything else. But if you look at it as a scale of 1 to 100, but then also -1 to -100, there's always the zero there. And we, as human beings, have presented ourselves as zeros, the same as God. Again, another reason they say we're built in the image of God. I don't see God as this Christian man in the sky that hands out wishes and sends people to heaven and hell. All that stuff, the judgment day and things like that. I'm sorry, that's a Jew perception. And I can't move on my faith in there. I can prove it, and I do make people look silly when they try this because it doesn't mean I'm making you look silly or anybody. It just means I can make perception look silly. You have a perception. It's how you see the world. It's the thing God built in the first 7 years of your life, not 7 days, by the way. You see what I mean? I look at Genesis and I'm like, well, it's 7 cycles, not 7 days. 7 cycles, and it doesn't mean cycles of the earth, it means cycles of the planet around the sun. This is how long it takes. Not necessarily 7, that's why they say God rests on the 7th. It's 6.8 years, which is, you look at the reason the church said, give me the boy for 7 years and I'll show you the man, is exactly this. What it says in Genesis is God takes 7 years to create your world, not our world. We don't live in a world. We live on a planet. Our world, our perception, the way we view the world took 7 years for God to build. And why we say God is because it's the process of everything. We allow the external world, God, universe, to have a cause within us through its own laws of cause and effect, have a cause within us and help us learn and understand things. But you know what happens at 7 or say 6, and then by 6.8 we become aware. Adam, Atum is the first within us to become aware. The first man on the planet. To me, it's a very silly story, but it's not a very silly story, actually. It's an amazing story, but the perception by which you say this. Remember I said Jew perception. It means you look at everything as dual. There is no dual reality. It's what we call the lie. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil is a lie that's been told to a lot of people. It's not your fault. We still believe in the same thing. We still perceive the same thing, only through different perceptions. Now, this has nothing to do with holy books and God or anything. This has something to do with you as a person, as an individual. That's why Jesus taught about blossoming within and things. You can say this is a holy book, can't mock it. This is a holy people, holy faith, holy lands, all these things. And I will never stand up against them. They mean nothing to me. Everything is based on the perception, the key within you. Now, if you want to say, my perception isn't, I'm the greatest perception in the world, my perception can't be incorrect, then there's where illness comes, and that's what I'm truly talking about with illness and childish behaviors. Because a true person, not the words I want to use. A true Christ, I'm trying not to use a fallacy here. A true Christ perceives reality as the Trinity. If that's not what's understood by yourself, then you see as duality, then yes, you can see good and evil, heaven and hell. I don't see those things. They don't make any sense to me. I can't. I've tried over and over and over my entire life. Can't do it. All I see is the Trinity everywhere. Everything comes in threes in Trinity. Good and evil doesn't have anything in between it. Well, Jesus installed something in between it called love, to say that good and evil, if you see them as like Satan and Lucifer being the morning star, the light angel. The greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing you Lucifer didn't exist, by convincing you he was Lucifer. Lucifer is just the brother of Satan, the opposite, the light angel, whereas Satan is the... Now, these had many names, by the way, not just these two names. They've had many names over the course of history, even from Cain and Abel. Yeah? It's just one is a narcissistic, selfish side of you, and the other one is a selfless, more lighter side of you, an empathic side of you. As above, so below. Neither one of them is good on their own. And neither one of them should be accepted on their own. Their love for each other and their combination is what you have inside you, is what all this is built upon. You can't have life without destruction. There has to be death and destruction, everything. Let's boil it down to the basics. There cannot be truth without the lie, because of the law of comparison and the law of opposites. You need both of them. God created both of them equally. He never created evil. People think the lie is that evil exists. It doesn't exist. What you perceive as evil can easily to me is perceived as an illness within man, because I possess certain abilities that would not allow me to like hurt a child or anything like that. I have certain elements of me that allow me to hurt something else because, like, if there's need in that, like it's within me. It's written on my heart what I should do best in each situation, and I follow that. I don't go around hurting people. At least I don't know. I don't purposely go around hurting people. But for there to be the truth, what is it in comparison to? Well, the only thing it can be in comparison, the lie. And now that they're the first elements of your existence and your understanding, that there is the truth and the lie. The lie is that there's a knowledge of good and evil, but the truth is there's a knowledge of life, the Trinity. To believe in duality, I call it a Jew perception, not Jewish people, not Jewish faith. I would never say that. These are wonderful individuals with great beliefs. I just see them as faulty. That's okay. We can all be incorrect. If you believe there's something wrong in making mistakes and being incorrect, there's an illness there, and we can talk about that. But my reality shows me that everything comes in trinities, and everything is in threes. Just in case those who didn't know what I meant by Trinity. And therefore, it's like I see great people. I even see the most intelligent people in the world right now. I'm not going to name them all. Who comes to mind? Jordan Peterson. There you go. He's a very intelligent man in many areas. And yet he still believes in good and evil. If I asked him to define it, he would define it in his own way. But if I asked him to define woman, he'd define it as a dictionary. If I said, can you define evil as a dictionary? I don't think he'd like to do that. He would mention that it's an immoral act, or it's profoundly immoral and wicked. But you look what wicked is, and this is immoral and evil. It's the same thing. Wicked means evil. It can mean other things, but in this context it means evil, because we're asking what is the definition of evil. I don't think saying wicked as in cool is what we mean by evil. And immoral, if your morals are good and evil, moral is good and immoral is evil. So the dictionary states that evil is profoundly evil or evil. It's using evil to define itself, which gives it a circular definition, which means it's completely, like, for me, I could, it feels like I'm in a loop and it's like a spell, like an illusion, and I'm like, how are people falling for this? Well, of course, as children, you're taught this. You don't even remember that. It's bred into you now. You don't even understand. It's like if I give you blue-tinted glasses when you were young and said, there you go, put them on and never take them off. You'd think everything was a form of blue. But until I take them off you, you'd say, oh, wow. So I'm trying to do that with the world. I've been sent here to do this. This is what the great hymn has asked me to do. No one else seems to be doing it. I could be incorrect, but it doesn't seem to be happening. I have ways of doing it. At the present, we are creating books for children, which we're working with charities to be able to build prestige, or status, should I say, status and a little wealth, so I can actually talk to these intellectual individuals, which should be the case in the next few years. That's why we're building Wirgo. I'm trying to remember what it was. I accept God, but God to me is everything that's on the outside of me. The entire I'm made out of God. The Holy Trinity is made from what we say frequency, which is everything is mental, everything is mind. We exist in the mind of God, just as our egos exist in the mind of us. And to think that God can't have us exist inside it as a mind. But we can have egos and like all this, everything you see, this item here, what you're looking on, all this came from our minds internally, and yet we place them here. To believe that there's a power outside us that can't do that, wow, that's very highly egotistical of ourselves. We're the only ones that can do it. No, of course, we are the mind of God. We're all built within it. The body of God is the field of vibration that's here. The thing that's moving. Everything is in a state of movement. Everything is vibrating. Everything is mental, that's the frequency. Everything is moving, that's the vibration. And then everything that's created from this is the energies, the energy of God. All things, energy is made out of energy. Energy is not destroyed. It's just turned into something else, which would be the miracle or the magic, if we want to call it that. There's lots of things, like people say miracles don't exist, and it's like, well, tell that to the doctors who understand what the placebo effect is. And individuals that can control this placebo effect. I myself control the placebo effect. There are many times I felt so ill and then told myself, no, you're absolutely fine. God is with you, you'll be better in a day or two. Bump, in a day or two I'm better. And the same person that has the same illness as me is still ill. Because they haven't got that faith in God and the miracle of God that is the placebo, that is given to us all. There are many gifts that we have, many gifts given to us that a lot of people have forgotten. I'm going to cover them on this show, but right now I'm trying to build an audience by which I can reach. If I keep doing, maybe this stuff goes, if I keep doing stuff like this, I feel like I'm going to create a divide between me and individuals, because they won't be able to see what I'm seeing. They won't be able to accept what I'm saying. I don't want this to be the case. I want to build a good rapport with my audience and then understand me a lot better. And know that I'm not here to take away your beliefs, your faiths, anything. I quite believe that we all see the same thing, just with our individual perceptions, which I believe that I can help you with. I can help you alter your perception so the key fits the lock a lot better. If people understood the way I see Christianity, you wouldn't have atheists. I mean, you put me in front of an atheist, it's a different story. I've been in front of so many of them, and they either try and argue someone else's argument against me, which is a straw man. I keep telling them this, and they shut up, or they accept everything I'm saying. They just go, well, I don't see it that way. And I'm saying, well, that's just you then. Even the idea of an atheist is somebody that does not accept or does not believe in God or a God or gods. But then I say to him, well, in that definition, what are you defining as God? I don't know, I don't believe in it. But you have to have a definition of the word God for you to say I don't believe in it. And they will not give me a definition. Do you understand the idea of atheism? It doesn't make any sense to me. I can't get it. You either accept the God or you don't accept the God. You say, right, I accept gods. Or you say, no, I don't accept them. God is what most people take the morals from. And the reason I say most people believe in a Jew God is because you take the morals of a dualistic, good and evil, heaven and hell. And I think, well, Christ means the Trinity perception. It means if you're going to use the words like fairy tale words like good and evil, put the fairy tale word love in between. Love just means acceptance and appreciation. Nothing more, nothing else. There's no need to add anything else to it. It's the perfect formula. Perfect potion, love potion. Acceptance and appreciation put together creates love. Now, there are different versions of love, but it's all linked to lust. That's all it really is. And I could go into so many different things. I won't you. Maybe ask questions and I'll do videos on there. What I wanted to finish with is that I accept and love a God. The God I accept and love is probably not the same as what other people perceive. In fact, I don't rarely met anybody who perceives God in the same way as me. And I'm finding better ways every day to explain myself to those who don't understand and don't believe. I'm having so much joy in convincing people that God exists, but it's very difficult with their perception. Unless I have time to help them alter their perception, they'll never see it the way I do. Maybe that's what Jesus was doing when he's saying heal the blind. I'm not saying I'm Jesus, by the way. That's not what I'm saying. I should be very careful how I say things. I'm saying that I see things differently, and I've always been so curious with the Bible, and yet for the longest time I would have classed myself as an atheist myself until I was 33. Yeah, but oh God, I sound like I'm got this big Messiah complex on. It's not what I'm saying, guys. I believe there'll be many individuals who have got a Christ perception, and that's why I believe I have. I do say that I believe I'm probably one of the only Christians and true Christians on this planet, because I believe a Christian has a Trinity perception, not a dual perception. And those who have dual perception, I call them dual Christians. In other words, they have the faith, they have all the knowledge that they believe, but they can only see it through a different perception, a dual perception of right and wrong, good and evil. And that's not their fault. Something's happened to them from a child. It's being pushed into them through trauma. I'm going to leave it there now and say to Sean, if that's how you say Indian bit, and everybody else, that I love the comments. I never take issue with any comments. You could troll me and I'd still love the comments. I don't mind. I'd just troll you back. But these would seem like genuine comments, and I wanted to give a video. If you have any more questions, add them to this video, and I'll make extra videos to be able to do that. I'll even try to talk to you about it. I understand text is confusing. Even these videos can be confusing because there's so much for me to try and unpack. So much. And the language as well is very difficult. It's the matrix that keeps me trapped, keeps us all trapped. I believe, Sean, that you're a beautiful sister of God. Regardless how your perception sees it, I will never judge you, ever. I can't see good and evil. My Lord has told me that it doesn't exist, and I should never consume that fruit. And as long as I do that, I'll be fine. It doesn't matter how many people tell me that Jesus died for our sins, you can break the first rule. I shouldn't do a mocking tone, maybe. It's just part of my character. I do not accept those things. Don't accept that Christ died for me. Don't accept that he died at all. Lives on inside me. He just shouldn't really put a he on it. People think I'm talking about an external gender. I'm talking about the masculine gender inside will always live on. Christ, by the way, is the combination of genders within me. Genders just being the masculine and feminine. I have lots to do on that to explain why people are so confused with gender ideology and things like that. Not everybody's going to accept it. I appreciate that. But if you ever listened, thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, because I do want to get more on doing stuff like this and expressing myself a little bit more. Thanks for your time. W.I.R.G.O Warriors. Harmony.